Hacking isn't a superpower. It isn't the flashy green text falling down the screen nonsense you see in movies where someone overrides the mainframe in 30 seconds. In reality, hacking is much more clinical, much more cynical, and significantly more boring if you don't have the right mindset. It's about understanding the rules of a system better than the person who built it, and then using those rules to your advantage. Most beginners fail because they want the magic button that opens the vault. They want the exploit without understanding the protocol. But if you are serious about this field, you need to realize that the most dangerous hackers aren't the ones with the most expensive software. They are the ones who know how to use the basic fundamental tools to dismantle an environment piece by piece. Today, we are stripping away the hype and looking at the 8 essential tools that every beginner should test if they want to move past being a spectator and start becoming a player in the digital landscape. The first tool you need to master is NAP. If hacking is a heist, NAP is your eyes. It is the industry standard for network discovery and security auditing. Most people think it's just for finding open ports, but that's like saying a telescope is just for looking at stars. NAP allows you to fingerprint an entire network. It tells you what operating systems are running, what versions of services are active, and in many cases, what vulnerabilities might be hiding in plain sight. When you run a scan, you aren't just looking for a door. You are looking for the manufacturer of the lock, the age of the hinges, and whether or not the security guard is taking a nap. If you don't know how to use NAP, you are blind. You're just throwing rocks in the dark and hoping you hit something. Learning the flags, understanding how a TCP three-way handshake works, and seeing how different scan types can bypass basic firewalls is the first real step in a hacker's education. Once you've found the network, you need to hear what it's saying. This brings us to Wireshark. If NAP is your eyes, Wireshark is your ears. It is a packet analyzer that lets you see exactly what is moving across a wire in real time. The digital world is incredibly noisy. Every time you load a web page, send an email, or connect to a server, thousands of packets are being exchanged. Most people ignore them. A hacker listens to them. Wireshark allows you to dissect these packets. You can see the headers, the payloads, and the handshakes. If a network is using unencrypted protocols, like Telnet or basic HTTP, you can literally see the usernames and passwords as they fly by. But more importantly, Wireshark teaches you the grammar of the internet. It teaches you how data is structured and how it breaks. You haven't truly seen the internet until you've watched a TCP stream reconstruct a private conversation from raw bits. But eventually, you'll want to do more than just watch and listen. You'll want to act. This is where Metasploit comes in. For years, Metasploit has been the Swiss Army knife of the hacking world. It is an exploitation framework that houses thousands of known exploits, payloads, and post-exploitation modules. For a beginner, Metasploit is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it simplifies the process of delivering an exploit to a target. It is a curse because it can turn you into a script kiddie, someone who knows how to run a command but has no idea how the exploit actually works. The real value of Metasploit for a beginner isn't in successfully gaining a meterpreter shell. It's in studying the exploit modules themselves. It's in understanding how a buffer overflow is triggered and how a payload is staged in memory. If you use Metasploit as a crutch, you'll never walk. If you use it as a textbook, you'll learn how to build your own weapons. While Metasploit handles the systems, Burp Suite handles the web. We live in an era where almost everything is a web application. Your bank, your social media, and your corporate internal tools all run through a browser. Burp Suite is an intercepting proxy that sits between your browser and the target server. It allows you to pause every request your computer sends, modify the data, and then send it along to the server. Most web security is based on the assumption that the user will only interact with the site through the provided buttons and forms. Burp Suite breaks that assumption. It lets you test for SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and broken authentication by manipulating the raw headers and parameters. If you want to understand why web vulnerabilities are the most common entry point for modern breaches, you need to spend 100 hours inside Burp Suite. It's where the magic of the modern web is revealed to be nothing more than a series of easily manipulated text strings. Then there is the reality of passwords. We are told to make them long, complex, and unique, but humans are predictable. This is where John the Ripper and Hashcat come in. These are password cracking tools, but they are also lessons in mathematics and psychology. Beginners often think that cracking a password is like guessing a combination lock. In reality, it's about understanding how when a system saves your password, it doesn't save the text. It saves a mathematical representation called a hash. John the Ripper and Hashcat use brute force and dictionary attacks to find the original text that matches that hash. Testing these tools against your own hashes is a sobering experience. It teaches you that a strong password is only as strong as the algorithm protecting it. It teaches you about the salt that banks use to make hashes harder to crack. And it proves that in the war of entropy versus computation, the machines are winning. Before you even touch a target, you need to know who they are. This is the world of ASINT, or open source intelligence, and Multigo is the king of this domain. Multigo is a data mining and link analysis tool that allows you to map out relationships between people, companies, domains, and IP addresses. It's a tool for the digital detective. You start with a single email address or a domain name, and Multigo crawls the internet to find every connected piece of information. It can find hidden subdomains, social media profiles, and even physical locations. For a beginner, Multigo is a lesson in how much information we leave behind. It proves that the hack often starts long before a single line of code is written. It starts with a name, a footprint, and a connection that someone forgot to hide. The air around us is filled with data, and most of it is protected by WAPA2 or WPA3 encryption. This leads us to error. This is a suite of tools for auditing wireless networks. It allows you to capture packets from the air, crack handshake files, and even perform DoI authentication attacks effectively, kicking people off their own Wi-Fi. For a beginner, aircracking is a rite of passage. It is the first time you realize that the invisible walls of a wireless network are actually quite thin. It teaches you about the vulnerabilities in the protocols we use to connect our homes and offices. It shows you that if you can hear the signal, you can potentially own the network. But more importantly, it teaches you about persistence. Cracking a complex Wi-Fi password can take hours or even days, and it requires a deep understanding of how wireless hardware interacts with the software. Finally, we come to the most important tool in any hacker's arsenal, Python. You might be thinking that Python is a programming language, not a hacking tool. You're wrong. Python is the ultimate hacking tool because it allows you to build every other tool on this list from scratch. If NAP doesn't have the specific scan you need, you write it in Python. If you want to automate an exploit you found in a research paper, you write it in Python. If you want to scrape data from a target's website and look for patterns, you write it in Python. Most of the tools I've mentioned were either built in Python or have Python APIs. If you don't know how to code, you are just a consumer of other people's genius. You are limited by the features they decided to include. Once you learn Python, you are limited only by your own logic. It is the language of the modern exploit developer, the security researcher, and the elite hacker. The cynical truth of this industry is that having the tools doesn't make you a hacker any more than having a scalpel makes you a surgeon. You can download all 8 of these tools right now. They are free, they are open source, and they are sitting on GitHub waiting for you. But without a foundation, you're just a kid playing with machos in a room full of gasoline. You'll probably end up hurting yourself, or worse, getting caught because you didn't understand the how and the why behind the what. The world is full of technicians who can follow a tutorial. It is starving for engineers who can think. If you want to be the person who understands the architecture, who sees the vulnerabilities before they are announced, and who can navigate the digital world with confidence, you need to stop looking at the tools and start looking at the stack. That is exactly why I've built the Hacker's Blueprint. It isn't a list of top 10 tricks. It's a comprehensive 3-inch -1 bundle that covers the pillars of this entire field: Python, ethical hacking, and cybersecurity. We teach you Python because, as I said, It's the skeleton key to the digital world. We teach you the mindset of ethical hacking so you can understand the tools on this list from the perspective of an attacker. And we teach you cybersecurity so you know how to build the walls that others can't climb. This isn't corporate fluff. It's a direct path to technical literacy. The link is in the description. You can keep watching videos and dreaming about hacking the mainframe, or you can get the blueprint and start doing the work. These 8 tools are your starting point. Use them to test your own systems, to audit your own networks, and to understand the reality of the world you live in. But remember, the most powerful tool you will ever own is the 3-pound gray matter between your ears. Everything else is just an accessory. Stay cynical about the software you use, stay curious about the protocols you connect to, and keep coding. The truth is in the packets. Go find it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe unless you've already figured out how to automate that with a script. In that case, I'll see you on the other side. Stay sharp. Stay sharp. Stay coding.